Hey everybody, welcome back to Module 3 of the Fast Track Straight Line Persuasion course. And here we're in Module 3, we're going to go through the inner game of sales. One of the things that I find very often with people is they spend a lot of time learning the tools, the tactics, the strategies that actually help them succeed in the outer world, meaning the things they actually do to be successful. But what they don't pay that much attention to is what happens up here in their mind, which is the inner world. And in order to succeed at any reasonable level, you have to master both. You see, what happens in the outer world, what manifests there, it first begins up here in the inner world with the thoughts that we have, our ability to manage our emotional state, to be able to focus on where we want to go in life. These are the things that so often hold salespeople and entrepreneurs back from succeeding at the level they're truly capable of. In fact, when I work with entrepreneurs and business owners and salespeople, I always say there are two core things that you really have to understand to be successful in life. And that is you have to know how to, number one, how to fail elegantly. Meaning, how do you go out there in the world and start a business? How do you jumpstart a new marketing program or sales campaign? And how do you do that in a way that if you're wrong, if things don't work out, how do you essentially maximize on the lessons and then don't get destroyed by the results, meaning not financially destroyed and really just screw yourself up? Because so many people, when they go out there and take actions, they don't hedge for the downside. So we need to learn certain tools and strategies about how you fail elegantly. And on the other side of the equation, we have to learn how to succeed wildly, meaning that when you're right, when things are working small, you've tested them out, and you have some traction, how do you take that idea and run with it? How do you build a sales force? How do you build a massive sales funnel once you've tested out your product or your program and it's working? Failing elegantly, succeeding wildly. Now, in terms of the inner game of sales, there are certain core elements that you must learn to harness in your mind if you want to be able to take the straight line system, the tactics, and use it at the highest level. See, what happens is everything, again, like I said, we manifest things in the outer world. It starts up here in the inner world. Well, here's the way it works. It starts basically by essentially seeing the world accurately as it is. You want to see the world as it is right now. So many people walk around and they tell themselves, as I call bullshit stories. They tell themselves stories about why they can't get what they want in life. And what happens is it's the story that they tell themselves about why they can't get what they want that actually stops them from getting what they want. Because the story stops them from getting honest. You need to start and say, you know what, honestly, here's where I am. This is where I am. Like, this is what I got to know. This is what I got to learn. These are the things I lack right now. I got to learn how to close better, how to get more leads, how to get into rapport. I have to just get honest. Some people say, oh, selling is evil. Or I don't want to work. I can't. If I work that hard, I'll miss my family. Or people will think I'm greedy if I make like. They have all these crazy and wacky stories that essentially stop them from getting honest. And unless you get honest with yourself, you can never make progress. So that's step one: is see things as they are in this world. Get honest. The next step is to actually see things better than they are. To see the world in a better way. To have essentially this goal, this vision for your future. And then you want to have a strategy to get there. But again, if you're blocked, if you're telling yourselves these bullshit stories about why you can't get what you want, you'll never get honest. You'll never say, you know what, I got to learn to close better. I got to learn how to get into rapport better. I have to learn how to overcome people's objections, how to lower the action threshold, how to learn certain business skills. People don't get honest, so they can't make progress. This essentially is what the inner game of sales and success is all about. And in this module, I want to really dig into this. I want to show you the four core elements that you essentially must learn to master at a reasonable level here if you want to use the straight line system in the outer world and succeed at any reasonable level. And again, it doesn't just cut to sales. This cuts to every aspect of your life. Your ability to go home and be a good parent to your children, to be a good spouse, a good partner, the ability to communicate, the ability to essentially have a vision for your future that inspires you and inspires the people around you. That's really at the heart of all achievement, of all success. It starts with having a vision for your future. And remember this, people don't buy into your goals. People don't follow goals. They follow vision. And so few people have a compelling vision for their future. So what happens? Guess what? They end up buying into someone else's vision. And they become a follower versus a leader. And they don't live an empowered life. So I'm going to urge you, and I'm going to get you on board here with this module of how do you dig into this inner game here? How do you set yourself up by harnessing your emotional state, your belief systems. How do you get these empowering beliefs working for you and get rid of these disempowering beliefs that end up holding you back and putting you in a box? How do you knock those beliefs out and replace them with empowering beliefs? How do you learn to focus on where you want to go in life versus what you're afraid of, which is what most people do? They actually focus where they don't want to go versus where they do want to go. And of course, because where we focus, we end up going, we end up crashing into our fears. So we learn to focus. We learn to create a vision for our future, a vision that when you actually read it back to yourself, it inspires you. It makes you jump out of bed, makes you run to work, makes you just feel great about your life. Okay, those are the core elements that really allow you on the inner game to succeed. And lastly, your personal standards. What are the things in your life that you must have? Short term, when we talk about success, typically it's your emotional state, your ability to manage your emotions in the moment that gives you near-term success. But long-term success is dictated by your standards. What must you have? What will you not settle for less than? In the end, it's almost like our thermostat, our set point. We end up always hitting our standards. I want to talk about how do you raise your standard? How do you design a life that essentially is congruent with all your beliefs and your values and your vision for the future? And then how do you go out and use the straight line system to hit that vision? It's like a target you set and boom, I'm going to show you how to hit it. So it starts what happens up here with the inner game, and then we'll take that and move it to the outer world using the straight line system, essentially your weapon for good to achieve exactly what you want in life. Now, I've had the opportunity to be in front of millions of people from all over the world and every business, every industry. And what I found out, well, we all have different backgrounds, different styles, different ways of doing things. At the end of the day, there are always these 4 core things that hold people back from achieving massive wealth and success. And let me tell you what they are. Number 1, or really number 4, I'll start and count down. Number 4 is that people tend to get into a state of overwhelm. When they go into business and they become a salesperson or an influencer, they say, there's so much to do. How do I start? What do I do first? What do I do second? There's so much to know. And they get into this spot where they almost feel just overwhelmed. And when you feel overwhelmed, typically what do? You do nothing. You shut down. So this idea of learning how to get out of a state of overwhelm, and it's an emotional state, by the way, okay, and learn how to get into a state of what's called clarity. Overwhelm means too much going on. Clarity meaning I know exactly what I'm doing, first, second, third, fourth. So that's the fourth of these things, number 4, that holds people back from achieving success. Number 3 is that people don't have a powerful enough why. And I mentioned this before briefly, and that is, people will say, I want to get rich, I want to become a great closer, I want to start a business, I want to be a top producer, and they never really dig deeper and say, why? They'll say, well, I want to make a lot of money. Well, what does that really mean? To say you want to get rich and make money, it's not powerful enough. There's something much deeper than that will inspire you and essentially move you to go past those barriers and obstacles and all the things that are going to be in your way. And there are always going to be things in your way as you're moving towards your goal and ultimately your vision. So when you really identify your own why, what truly drives you to succeed, it's this incredibly liberating experience. And again, most people never do that. They don't know what their why is, and because of that, they're held back. And I always say, people say, Jordan, how do I motivate myself? How do I get inspired? And I'm like, well, what's your why? And they'll go, I want to get, I don't know. They don't know. I want to be rich, and not enough. For me, my why, when I was first, getting out of jail and had to rebuild my life from scratch, my why was my children, the faces of my 2 kids. And I said to myself, I will never let them down again. I'm going to live a life they'll be proud of. And every time I felt like I wanted to, move back and I was scared, and listen, I'm scared. I have fears like everybody else, but I don't let my fears hold me back. I move into my fears. And what helps me do that typically is knowing my why. Something that's so important to me that I will do whatever it takes without harming another person. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that my why is taken care of. So again, that's that third thing of the 4. Number 2 is, this is a weird one, I kind of mentioned it before with failing elegantly, is people don't know how to be wrong. People don't know how to go out and take shots in life and start businesses and try new markets and try different campaigns. They don't know how to test things. They don't know how to go into an idea and be wrong and be able to maximize on the lessons, meaning because you learn more from your failures than they do from your successes, no doubt about that, right? So they don't know how to essentially maximize on the lessons and then minimize the time lost from being wrong. So again, you have to learn how to essentially to be wrong in life as much as learn how to be right. So you want to learn how to fail elegantly. And this first thing that really holds people back, the number one thing, is that most people, and this is just a fact of life, most people, they basically can't sell their way out of a paper bag. They're not closers. And I promise you, if you lack that single skill, this ability to close the deal, without that core skill, good luck trying to get rich. Good luck trying to become successful. It's just, unless you're a member of the Lucky Sperm Club or you're going to hit the lottery, okay, you have to learn how to become a closer. You have to learn how to share your ideas, your concepts, your vision for the future with other people in a way that moves them to take action and also gets you what you want to. And along with that is this whole idea, I just want to close out this whole inner game, this introduction here, by talking about, really what does it mean to get rich and how does that happen? One of the great misconceptions out there is that, getting rich is this sort of slow, painstaking, painful process. Let me just stop you right there. There's only one way to get rich in this world, and that's quick. You got to get rich quick. Now, I'm not talking about a get-rich-quick scheme. I'm not saying that at all. Because what happens is this. You work really hard, and you work really hard, and you don't get the result. And you keep working really hard, and you're banging your head in, you're working really, no result. There's all this work being done, and while you're doing all this work, and you're building up towards becoming successful, you're lining up these core elements of success, both the inner game and the outer game elements of success. But once you finally line up that last element of success, you have everything in place, a little spark hits, bam, the money starts pouring in avalanches of abundance. You don't get rich slowly. Typically, you work really, really hard for a couple of years or whatever, a couple of months hopefully, but it could be years, not getting the result. When you finally get that result and the money starts coming in, it comes in hard and fast. It doesn't trickle in, it pours in. So the goal here, as we go through this introductory fast track course here, is to get you on this road of lining up these core elements of success that must be in place if you want to become rich and successful. Then as you move on then to straight line mastery with the 10 modules here, you get to this place here where you start to own these elements of success. And once you do, I promise you this, wealth and success is assured. It takes a bit of time, you got to work hard, but once you own those elements, you become unstoppable. Now the ebook is going to be very specific here with each of these skills and lay them out for you one by one, step by step, so you can actually internalize them in a logical way. So you'll understand at the deepest level. And then the accompanying video is actually going to be live where you see me teaching these 4 key elements, and it'll be more of an emotional, moving experience. So get it both logically and emotionally. And then after this module is done, we'll have our 4th and final module next week. We're going to go back into the outer world. We'll focus on the core strategies of straight line persuasion and influence. And I'll show you really how you take someone down the straight line and how we engage in this process of what's called looping to essentially create massive certainty in people to be able to overcome their objections elegantly and really turn them into opportunities to close. And when we get to this level here, you're truly going to see a profound difference in your closing rate, in your sales cycle, and of course in your ability to get massive customer referrals. And again, I hope in the end we're going to move on to the straight line mastery course here so you can truly own this sort of stuff. But for now, I want you to dig into the ebook. I want you to learn this inner game stuff. I want you to own it. And I want you then to watch the video. And I want you to take this stuff and start using it in your life straight away. Don't wait, tomorrow and after you're done, I want you to start using this stuff. And these principles they're not that hard to learn. They're easy. And you can actually see them taking effect like instantly. It's not like, let me do this and I'll see a benefit in 6 months. You'll start seeing benefits straight away. So I want you to enjoy this module, and I'll see you again next week with our 4th and final module.